Select your players.
But that's not
True,
at all.
you do.
That is not at all true. I really don't want to get another cat. I'm so fucking done with cats. But the viewers and listeners.
So let's be honest. That wasn't you who was wanting the cats, right?
No, God, no.
Okay.
That was the ex-wife that wanted the cat. What is? Oh my God! Those are things that I can actually swallow and have powers with. I didn't realize that. I thought they were just like the little buggy things that you kill.
The buggy things.
Ah, I can't get the crystal because I don't have the right equipment.
That's so dumb.
It's really dumb. Anyway, but no, like, that's actually a story that our listeners and viewers haven't heard, is why I'm done with cats.
Oh, please don't tell it because it makes me sick every time.
All right.
Oh God.
All right, viewers.
Now I feel like you have to tell it.
Viewers. Brandon, you
Yes.
can go ahead and plug your ears. I'll pause the game when the story's over, okay? I'm doing this so you don't have to listen to it.
I'm just gonna suck it up. I'm just gonna deal.
All right. So my ex-wife and I had we had several cats in our tenure. That doesn't seem like the
You
right
guys weren't together for 10 years.
No, not 10 years. Tenure.
I know.
Okay, so you were being a Mark moment for a second there.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we had.
They're contagious.
Yeah, that's understandable. So we had.
It's like a disease.
Yeah. So me and my ex-wife had 3 cats, and we lived in an area that had a lot of cats that would wander around in the neighborhood. And one time when I was, oh God, this was when I lived in Portland, so it's probably like 8 years ago now. God, fuck, that was like 8 years ago. I was doing some house cleaning and I had left the door open because it was summer, it was hot as shit, and AC is expensive to pay for. And one of the neighborhood cats, or so I thought, wandered into our apartment while I was cleaning it. And I spent a long time trying to get it out. So like I tried coaxing it out with food, I tried coaxing it out with treats, nothing worked. So finally, I hate myself to this day for this because it's fucked me up for a long time. Like not emotionally, but like physically.
I mean, I would say emotionally too, a little bit.
That's
to an
fair.
extent.
Yeah, a little bit of emotional abuse there. Not abuse, but trauma. So I was, I didn't think about it in the moment, but I just reached my bare hand into the cupboard that it was hiding in and grabbed the stray and tried to pull it out. Well, the cat didn't like that very much, and it bit me.
No.
It bit me on the hand, and the bite went down through my thumb, like the fleshy part of the thumb, not the bone, obviously, and it quickly pulled its head aside, which ripped my hand open, or my thumb open, I should say. And now, in the moment when it happened, I was like, "Oh, that hurt." Probably just I've been bitten by cats before, nothing major. And so I finally get the cat out, and what I do is I put it in the cat carrier that I have, and take it to a park a ways away. I figure, I don't want this thing getting back in the house. We'll take it somewhere safe and leave it be, right? And I let it out at the park, and I come back home, and I'm like, all right, let's. I had just wrapped a towel around my hand. It was in a kind of a rushed moment, and when I got back, I took the towel off my hand, and it spurted blood about 6 feet. Which, for those of you that don't know, means that I got it got a vein, or is it a vein or an artery? The one that
typically an artery.
Yeah. Either way, it was really bad that it whatever it was, because it was gushing blood. So when that happened, I rushed to the hospital, and while I was at the hospital, trying to explain to a nurse why you're at the hospital, like, oh yeah, I got bitten by a cat, that on paper sounds ridiculous, and I can admit that. And everyone at my station, when I called them, I was like, hey, I'm going to the hospital, I got bit by a cat. They were all like, you got bitten by a a cat and you're going to the hospital. So I'm at the hospital, just in the waiting room, and I'm like, yeah, I got bitten by a cat. It hurts. I need to see somebody about it. And while I was in there, the nurse didn't, like, she wasn't, let's just say she was taking her sweet time trying to get me into her room. So finally I just unwrapped my hand and showed her exactly what was happening. And she freaked out and quickly got me into her room. The doctor took a look at it and he's like, oh yeah, it's a good thing you came in. Luckily there's there haven't been any cases of rabies in this part of the country in years. And I was like, oh, that's a good sign. And he's like, so here's what we're gonna do. We're just gonna clean out we're gonna clean it out. We'll put some numbing solution in there and stitch you back up. And I'm like, fuck me. I don't like stitches. I don't like getting shots in my hand. So I'm like, okay, so doc, what are the chances that I don't have to get stitches? And he's like, we'll take a closer look at your hand, just see what we can do. And I will say, I got lucky and didn't. So what ended up happening was they were like, yeah, based on, because it's like right on the fucking joint of my thumb. So like, they couldn't put stitches. They had to do, oh great, these things fall. They had to do butterfly patches or whatever the fuck they're called. And so he's like, all right, so here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna have to use the butterfly strips. We're still gonna have to numb your hand so that we can, clean it out and everything. And I was like, all right, so what are the chances you don't have to numb it? Like, what if you just cleaned it? And he's like, I mean, it's gonna be excruciatingly painful. And I'm like, all right, but let's just say I can handle excruciating painful, and I don't want you to give me a shot. He's like, I'd say you're a fool, but I can't tell you what you have to do. And I was like, perfect. I don't want a shot. So I didn't get a shot. They did.
You are ridiculous.
I know. I'm very well
I thought I had issues. I thought I had issues with needles.
Look, I am not going to deny at all that my fear is completely irrational. Like, I am very well aware that it's completely 100% irrational.
I had a moment where I realized that I'm like, you know what? I'm a fucking adult. I'm not a kid anymore. I can't keep bitching about this. I'm just gonna get it over with.
Look,
and just suck it up.
Here's where I'm at. If it's necessary, fuck, I'll do it. I'll just suck it up. If it's something that there's the option to opt out of it, I will opt out of it every time. Now, that being said, so they didn't give me a shot.
Now, I will say, if it comes to blood work, I will find any way I possibly can to get out of it.
Oh, I don't like this part. I don't like this part at all.
Well, you can't see the bullets.
Yeah.
Oh.
But, oh, no. Get back here. So yeah, they ended up, I'll tell you what, it is really weird seeing the bone of your thumb, because that's how far down the cat tore, was down to the bone. And, so, the doc he did a really good job cleaning it. He got all the dead tissue cut out, which I didn't realize how much of your fingers are actually just fat.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I he's taking care of it, and he's like, all right, so we're gonna put a splint on your hand. Just keep the splint on when you're awake. And well, I mean, I had to wear it when I was asleep too. But he's like, just keep the splint on, and we'll set you up an appointment with the whatever the fuck a hand doctor is called. I forget. For next week. And I was like, cool, all right, no problem. They gave me a bunch of fucking kick-ass meds, a bunch of kick-ass like painkillers, antibiotics. I was living a great life for about 3 weeks.
There you go.
And then I go in for my follow-up appointment. The doctor that was looking at my hand, he's like, all right, so we're just gonna take off the bandages and the splint, see how your hand is healing up. And I'm like, cool, let's do it. And as he's unwrapping my hand, like he hadn't even taken the splint off yet, he pulls back the bandages, and my arm just starts cascading with like brown and green, just rancid pus. And he looks at me and he said, what have you been doing with this? And I said, well, they told me to wrap
jerking off.
No, and I was like, they told me to wrap it up and leave it wrapped up when I'm away, or like at all times. And he's like,
oh my God, Mark, you never told me this part.
yeah. So the doctors,
Oh, Jesus Christ.
the doctors that had put the splint on told me to keep it wrapped always. So I did that. And my the doctor
Never changed your bandages for 3 weeks.
No, see, here's the thing, there weren't bandages. It was just butterfly strips and and it was a week later. It wasn't 3 weeks later that I went back. I just spent 3 weeks on medication.
Okay.
But the doctor looks, he's like, you're sure that they didn't tell you to do anything with it? And I was like, I mean, you can look at my chart. Like, everything was on there. Like, they just told me to wrap it up and leave it wrapped. And so he's like, all right, I'll be right back. And I hear from the other room, what the fuck did you do to this kid? And I was like, oh,
That's
no.
what you want to hear.
I was like, oh, no. Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
So he comes back. He's like, but dude, he's like, but it's a good thing you came in today. Motherfucker. He said, if you'd have waited another few days, we would have had to like take off your thumb. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, your tissue that they cleaned out is now necrotic. Like,
yeah, you have like, oh God.
And so I was like, what happened? And he's like, what they were supposed to have you do is take off the bandages and the splint twice a day and soak it in like hot soapy water for like an hour. And I was like,
oh God.
And he's like, and the fact that they didn't tell you that, like, you could have lost part of your hand. And I was like, fuck, that's not good. And he's like, yeah, so what we're going to do is we're going to put you on another 2 weeks of painkillers and another 2 weeks of antibiotics. And I was like, wait, so does that mean I'm not going to be able to do my job for the Coast Guard for 2 weeks? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, fucking sweet. All right, let's do this. And for our listeners and viewers, I hated the job. I hated working in the Coast Guard. Anyway, that's not the point. So yeah, so he gave me another.
I feel like that was
I feel like that was apparent,
given.
But like, let's be real here. Some people might have just missed that little social cue.
Sure.
But yeah, so he ended up doubling my dosage of painkillers because apparently the only thing that was keeping me from being in searing pain all the time
was those
painkillers. And he's like, if you hadn't come in today and your hand got any more necrotic, there would be no amount of painkillers that would have prevented you from feeling it. And I was like, fuck. All right.
That's not true. You could have taken enough to the point where you died. You don't feel anything then.
You're not wrong. So he ended up giving me some pretty heavy duty shit. But yeah, I have a scar like to this day that still.
It's a gnarly scar too.
Like that there's that episode of Doctor Who where the doctor is investigating this crack in a little girl's wall. That's exactly that crack is what this scar looks like. For reference, here's a picture of the crack in the wall.
I like that you don't show the picture of your hand.
I mean, I'm going to show a picture of my hand next to it, obviously. Mark, make sure there's a picture of your hand too. But yeah, so it was like by and large, it was the worst fucking injury I've had in my adult life. Like I'd go as far as to say, like, I don't think I've had an injury that bad in my entire life.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I almost lost my thumb because of a fucking cat bite. So that is why I don't fucks with cats anymore.
Cats are fucking disgusting.
They are, and that's the thing, is that's why my hand got necrotic, is because cats' mouths are so fucking filthy. I'm a hamster.
Continue.